这咋已经都补了？
在这儿就测，在这儿就测最少2啊，墙体开始脱落了，这是高层的外墙体开始脱落了，从地基开始裂缝，看到没有？这不能再待了，这得走。
纯粹一个恐怖大片嘛，这不跟那个美国大电影拍的一样吗？我靠！
Recently, in the Bi Gui Yuan residential area of Balitai Town, Jinnan District, Tianjin City, tens of 26-story high-rise apartment buildings experienced subsidence, building tilting, exterior wall detachment, and foundation cracks. Approximately 3,000 residents were urgently relocated.
房屋成为了危楼，为了大家的安全着想，不能再居住了。当地的领导也是制定出了暂时的解决对策，转移了这10几栋楼几百户的家庭住所，让大家安全的去其他地方暂时居住。
Videos circulating online show that the underground parking lot of the residential area was filled with water, and water was dripping from multiple points of the ceiling. Additionally, there were significant cracks on one of the walls and the ground, with a substantial accumulation of collapsed building debris. Also, the roads within the residential compound have started to bulge and swell in rolling appearance, with cracks developing and expanding. The ground and lawn have also seen the appearance of numerous cracks of varying widths. Measurements show that some cracks on the ground are about 40 centimeters wide. Currently, the number of tilted apartment buildings continues to rise. As of June 3rd, residents of buildings 30 to 52 in the compound have been relocated to nearby hotels. Living in hotels has inconvenienced them in terms of meals and laundry, and many residents want to return home to retrieve their belongings. However, due to water and power outages, they have no choice but to climb up over 20 floors. Moreover, the authorities have not provided an explanation for the structural damage, nor have they talked about the issue of compensation. Faced with these tilted and damaged buildings, residents are extremely anxious.
I'm an owner of the Country Garden property, and my family has been busy retrieving belongings all day. The official media's coverage of this accident only mentioned damage to the roads, the lawn in this residential zone, and the underground parking lot. And they only mentioned partial damage and conveniently ignored the fact that the high-rise buildings have subsided and cracked. This is a major issue, so why do they avoid talking about the serious facts? Since the accident, the media hasn't mentioned a word about the high-rise buildings subsiding and cracking. The only demand we have as owners is that all the owners of the 15 buildings be relocated and be resettled. We strongly disagree with any mediation. To the government official in charge of this affair, please give him this one request as feedback. There are no other requests.
According to mainland media outlet Jimu News, Mr. Li, a resident of Building 38, described an incident that occurred around 6 p.m. on May 31st. Some people heard a loud bang similar to an explosion, as if the road had burst open. Following the noise, it was discovered that a drilling tower used for drilling geothermal wells had collapsed. The tower, located east of the community's east gate along Balitai Road. Soon after, residents noticed bulging and cracking on the surface of Balitai Road, and the news quickly spread among the community's resident groups. Zhao Tianxiang, a resident of Building 38, told reporters that around 10:30 p.m. that day, staff came knocking on doors to notify everyone to evacuate. Chen Xiaoliang, a resident of Building 40, said his door was knocked on in the early morning of June 1st. Actually, we noticed cracks between the residential buildings and the ground that evening, and many of us went to sleep worried, said Chen Xiaoliang. Huang Dexin, who lived in Building 42, went to bed as usual that night as he hadn't seen the news in the resident group. He was awakened by sudden knocks on his door after 3 a.m. on June 1st. Startled, he opened the door to find it was the relevant personnel advising him and his family to evacuate as quickly as possible. Why should we evacuate? Huang Dexin asked. The staff then informed him about the road subsidence in the community, urging residents to evacuate for their safety. Upon hearing this, Huang Dexin hurriedly went downstairs with his wife, leaving behind almost everything, including his daily blood pressure medication. On the evening of June 1st, a reporter from Qilu Evening News arrived at the affected residential compound, finding the south gate already sealed. Most apartment buildings were dark, with only a few windows lit up. Property management personnel stated that all residents had been evacuated, but they could return to retrieve their belongings. Perhaps the residents who came to pick up their belongings forgot to turn off the lights. Moreover, barriers were set up at the southern end of Balitai Road, with police officers standing guard to prevent unauthorized individuals from entering. A gas company employee informed reporters the gas supply has been cut off, and preliminary inspections reveal no issues with the gas pipelines currently. Also, electrical company staff members are working within the cordoned-off area. At noon on June 2nd, a reporter from Qilu Evening News noticed cracks appearing between the base of nearly every residential building's walls and the ground within the affected compound. The cracks in Building 39 were particularly large. Numerous cracks, both deep and shallow, were also evident on the compound's roads and lawns. In the underground garage of the compound, the reporter observed water everywhere on the ground, with numerous areas of the ceiling dripping. There were also significant cracks on one wall and the floor, with a lot of collapsed building debris accumulated from fallen parts. However, what stood out most was a red 10-story building located on the east side of Balitai Road. This building, directly opposite of buildings 38 and 39, exhibited significant tilting. On June 3rd, a netizen wrote that it almost fell down.
这对面这个红楼马上就要倒，非常的危险。据说现在已经疏散了4500多位居民了。
Construction and surveying personnel could be seen throughout the residential compound. From the eastern fence of the compound, one could observe a considerable number of construction workers and vehicles on Balitai Road. How could the ground suddenly bulge, crack, and subside? Regarding this matter, the Jinnan District Emergency Bureau, the District Housing and Construction Commission, and the District Urban Management Committee of Tianjin City have all declined to comment to the media. Some residents of the community suspected that the accident was caused by the geothermal well drilling activities. Chen Xiaoliang, a resident of Building 40, said that about half a month ago, opposite the compound, a geothermal well drilling project started, right next to the 10-story red building. Construction was ongoing every day, with constant clanging noises. Several residents mentioned that a drilling rig taller than the red building was also present at the site. Some said they heard noises at the time of the incident, followed by the fall of the rig. Others mentioned that the rig was toppled after the incident. Currently, the drilling rig is no longer visible from within the compound, but another rig still stands not far to the north of the red building. According to Jinnan News, following the incident, the local government formed a team of experts. The team includes renowned experts from Tianjin University, China Railway Design Institute, PetroChina, and Tianjin Survey and Design Institute. The team has designated safety control areas on the site, setting up 44 tilt monitoring points and 38 vertical deformation monitoring points. Reports on the specific situation are provided every 2 hours, with emergency relief construction plans formulated. Effective measures are being taken to prevent further ground subsidence. At present, relevant experts are carrying out exploratory inspections on the damaged roads and buildings. The cause of the issue is still under further investigation. However, some experts have voiced preliminary conclusions that the issue seems unlikely to be significantly related to the geothermal well. As such, a well extends to a depth of 1,600 meters underground, making its potential impact on the surface minimal. According to an industry insider's analysis, the geothermal well construction had just started 2 weeks ago, so there is a high possibility that it hadn't been drilled very deep yet. It is speculated that the cave-in of the residential building foundations is not directly related to the geothermal well drilling. There are suspicions that there might be karst cavities beneath the affected buildings, and the sudden collapse of the cavities caused the accident. Netizens have suggested that weather factors may have contributed, but the primary cause is likely to be the quality of the construction work. According to reports, Tianjin had experienced heavy rainfall and the effects of a typhoon before the incident, which might have caused an increase in the groundwater level, changes in the geological structure, and a decrease in ground-bearing capacity, subsequently triggering ground bulging and building subsidence. According to the media, it has been reported that the location of the incident was previously a sand quarry, and the soil in the area is loose. Therefore, before constructing the apartment buildings, it was necessary to reinforce the foundation. The effectiveness of the reinforcement is not known. However, the reasons behind such extensive ground subsidence and uplift are extremely complex. Even experienced professionals in the industry would not be able to determine the cause based solely on this limited information. Indeed, the construction quality of many apartment buildings in China is poor, with Tofu-Dreg projects surfacing constantly. This phenomenon is analyzed in detail in our video, 100-meter tall apartment tower wobbles, why Tofu-Dreg projects are everywhere in China. Those interested are welcome to go watch it. The Chinese developers often play a role in the government's wealth extraction from the people, aiming to maximize profits by ensuring efficient capital turnover. The developer involved in this incident, Country Garden, is renowned for its high capital turnover efficiency. Country Garden has achieved an incredibly fast turnover, summarized by its 456 model. On the day the land is purchased, the Design Institute must complete the design overnight. Property pre-sales start in the 4th month, the capital is recouped in the 5th month, and capital turnover occurs in the 6th month, with the recouped funds used to buy further land for expansion. A sign at a Country Garden construction site reads, "Work as usual in light rain. Don't stop construction in heavy rain. Speed up construction on sunny days. Work with lights on at night. We don't take a break until the earth explodes. We don't rest until the universe reboots." Industry insiders speculate that while compressing construction time, the quality of construction and safety standards may have been compromised. Additionally, lack of regulatory oversight could be a significant factor. It is reported that the Tianjin Country Garden residential area has been completed for several years and passed acceptance inspections for occupancy. How did the building quality pass the acceptance inspection? Were regular safety checks and evaluations conducted during this period? Were existing issues identified and corrected in a timely manner? Were violations of construction regulations monitored and penalized? These questions all merit thorough investigation. Moreover, the issue of the expert group needs special attention. In China, under the rule of the Communist Party, expert groups are a peculiar entity. Typically, these expert groups are temporarily formed by the government or business owners in response to specific situations, and they dissolve after their tasks are completed. They are not registered legal entities and do not bear responsibility for the conclusions they make. Essentially, expert groups in China, driven by power or money and backed by their expertise or reputation, serve to mislead the public and absolve the privileged classes of responsibility and trouble. Expert groups generally consist of elites in relevant professional fields. The number and composition of experts summoned vary according to specific events, but the group typically consists of no fewer than 3 members. After the situation is resolved, the expert group writes a report, also known as an expert opinion. The client receives the signed report, and the experts receive their payment. This is essentially a cash-on-delivery transaction, after which the expert group disbands. In most cases, leaders at all levels prefer to employ expert groups for decision-making. If a decision leads to severe consequences, the leader's responsibility is greatly reduced, essentially providing them with a protective umbrella. As for the experts, they have the opportunity to earn money, build relationships with the privileged class, and pave way for greater benefits in the future. In this way, both leaders and experts get what they want. We analyzed the decision-making process of the Three Gorges project in one of our previous videos. It's a typical case of government officials relying on expert groups for decision-making. The Central Committee of the CCP and the State Council first approved the construction of the Three Gorges project. Then, the State Council convened an expert group to evaluate the feasibility of the project. In the end, the expert group, per the leader's request, concluded that the benefits of constructing the three gorges outweighed the drawbacks. Since the expert group dared not and could not overturn the decision of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council, their role was essentially to provide a rationale for constructing the three gorges, in order to deceive the Chinese public. As a result, two experts who opposed the Three Gorges project died under mysterious circumstances. Those experts who opposed the project were suppressed, and none of them became academicians. On the other hand, over 20 of the experts who supported the project were promoted to academicians and enjoyed lifelong treatment equivalent to minister or deputy minister level officials, reaping both fame and wealth. Therefore, the Three Gorges project was also known as the cradle of academicians. Another typical example was the shaking incident of the Seg Plaza, a 356-meter tall building in Shenzhen in May 2021. The expert group concluded that the wind blew the mast on the top of the building, causing resonance, which led to the perceptible vibration of the Seg Plaza. However, the experts did not mention several key issues. One, the building employs a concrete-filled steel tube. Steel and concrete have different thermal expansion coefficients. Is there any separation between the concrete and the steel tube wall after 20 years of service? 2. Is the construction speed of one floor every 2.7 days too fast? 3. Construction started before the construction drawings were provided. Construction and design were done simultaneously, and the construction drawings were revised whenever necessary. Is this practice problematic? Famous current affairs commentator Wen Zhao stated, "The so-called intellectual elites in China, the closer they are to the top, the less they contribute. This isn't a matter of becoming less intelligent upon becoming an academician, but a systemic issue. Academic discourse has become a form of power and hence a target of corruption and manipulation. The fact is that there are no longer any moral standards or constraints among China's academic elites. Intellectuals without moral standards can only be academic rascals driven by power and money, no longer truthful experts." Ever since the establishment of its authoritarian regime, the Communist Party of China, or CPC, has been plotting to eradicate the intellectual class, traditionally seen as the moral exemplars of society. After the anti-rightist movement, the traditional intellectual class in China disappeared. The intellectual elite class in contemporary China are essentially tools brainwashed by the CPC. Lenin once referred to such individuals as useful idiots. In late February 1957, the CPC launched a campaign of "Let 100 flowers bloom, let 100 schools be thought content," encouraging intellectuals to voice their opinions to the party, and sincerely stated, "There's no crime in speaking up." Intellectuals who were dissatisfied with the party's leadership in all things despite their lack of expertise, and with the widespread innocent killings in the suppression and purge of counter-revolutionaries, thought the CPC was finally becoming enlightened. As a result, they started to speak their minds more boldly. On May 15, 1957, Mao wrote an article called "Things Are Changing," which he circulated among senior party officials. It read, "In recent times, the rightists have been the most defiant and reckless. They want to whip up a typhoon of above level 7 on this vast land of China, aiming to annihilate the Communist Party." Subsequently, as many as 550,000 intellectuals nationwide were branded as rightists and were persecuted. There is a saying in traditional Chinese culture, "A scholar would rather be killed than be humiliated." But the CPC managed to enforce a situation where if you don't accept humiliation, they won't give you food coupons, and your family will suffer as well. Therefore, many intellectuals indeed succumbed. In this process, some intellectuals, in an attempt to protect themselves, turned in others, deeply hurting many people. Those scholars who refused to be humiliated were made examples of to intimidate others, and they met their untimely ends. Thus, the intellectual class, traditionally the moral exemplars of society, disappeared. It's evident now what a society will be like without the morally upright intellectuals.